Hey guys, welcome to Right on Red podcast and supplemental video. Weekly edition. This is week 2 for me. Hopefully, we're going to have a long run, but we will see. Anyways, wanted to talk about today the American dream and the difference between equality, which is equal opportunity, and equity, which is everyone ending up with the same. This country was built on the American dream, and while there were aspects of the country that have changed for the better because things weren't always equal for every person of every race or religion or whatever, it is now. Things are very equal now. And to put a focus on equity would ultimately be awarding those who didn't take advantage of the American dream. We have talked to people regarding this of every race, every religion, every sexual orientation, every sexual preference, and you will find so many people who believe, for the most part, that you advance in your own American dream by the work you put in, which is literally a value that I was taught at a young age, and most people are taught: work ethic, reward for hard work. That comes into play in every situation of something that's going to anything you want to pursue. Equality means the right to pursue anything you want. One of the greatest people in history, Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., was big, of course, on equal opportunity, and that was it. You'll find much of his writing, he warned about when the band came swinging the other way, that he said we'll be offered more to make up for what we weren't allowed to do. Do not fall for that, because ultimately the rebound effect will be the same as we'll be going backwards. And I believe that's what we're seeing right now. We have hurdles to overcome still, but there's solutions to those hurdles when properly defined. When they're clouded up and labeled as a racial issue or a climate issue or this and that, the problem manifests in other areas of life under the reality that's not defined, which is actually poverty, demographic areas that are in poverty, and the people in those areas, not just one race in those areas. Everybody in those areas right now have a tougher time realizing the American dream than someone growing up in a rich, affluent suburb with an amazing school district and parents that are really into their lives and mentors all over the place and peers that are equally as driven and equally as good, just in general. Sports are a big part of the lives of suburban kids. There's programs at every school, extracurricular activities that if you're not athletic, you can do science, you can do math, you can get involved in many different things, school government, anything. But when you are stuck in a school district that is not only subpar, but in many of the cities in America, horrible, where you're seeing graduation rates in the low double digits, and it's pathetic, because it can be fixed, it can be avoided, it can be changed. But not by adding a few dollars to welfare to create equity, not by making life easier for criminals in the name of social equity. How does that even make sense? Making criminals' lives easier and you labeling it as fixing Black America is racist in its own sense. You are saying that Black people are criminals? It's such a ridiculous statement. You're absolutely 100% hurting Black America and the law-abiding citizens in any community, especially in the communities they're trying to help, killing, hurting, killing even the law-abiding citizens of those places, such as Rochester, New York, which is my city. Saw an amazing stat, something to be really proud of. And we last year in 2021 finished #1 per capita for murder rate. Awesome. 80 murders in a city of 200,000 people. Take that up to 1 million people. That's 400 murders. Take that up to 2 million. You're talking. I mean, if we were the size of New York City, we would have thousands of murders at this rate. Thousands. And it is preventable, but it stems from New York State's laws and right now the federal laws, the way they're moving. New York State's been in that direction for a while. New York State is light on crime. We love you, criminals. We love you, parolees. We love you. Oh, you committed a crime. That's okay. That's okay. Just show up to court on this date. I'm sure you'll be there. Now go out there. Get back out on the horse and try to really commit that crime next time better. Don't get caught next time. We have people getting arrested for illegal handguns that have been arrested 4 times in the previous 3 months for illegal handguns, and every time was given an ROR, released on your own recognizance. Every time. Because of quote-unquote bail reform. Bail didn't get reformed. Bail got shit on. Let's make that sure you know that. Bail got stripped. Bail got crushed. Bail got ended for the most part, for most crimes. There was a time in New York State when if you got caught with an illegal gun, you were going to prison and you weren't getting bail. And that's how it should be. If you really are serious about illegal guns, getting them off the streets, don't create a war on ghost guns. Go after the people who are getting these guns, trafficking these guns, and the people who are running around with them. If somebody knows they're going to spend a good portion of their life in jail because they had an illegal handgun, they might not have that illegal handgun, or they're at least going to think twice about it, trust me. And if they don't, guess what? That's one more illegal handgun and one more criminal who carried one off the streets. Don't give me the old, oh, well, they made a mistake. Come on. We're not talking about people who are committing their first offense here. We're talking about the people being rearrested time and time again with a felony record a mile long committing these murders and these violent crimes. And even the smash and grabs. But those are the people, a lot of times those are the people that are starting out. They'll escalate to holdups with illegal guns and murders and assaults, armed assaults, things like that. It happens. In a system where the law doesn't matter, the law won't matter. It's that simple. So why am I talking so much about that? Because that's a huge part of why the deck is stacked more against people growing up in areas that are in poverty, underprivileged, whatever you want to label them. That's why the deck is stacked against them finding the path to success. Whereas in an affluent suburb or rural area, or even in affluent metro areas, it's much easier, it's much more common to see children grow up successful and out of trouble because not because they're white or black or Hispanic or whatever. No, none of that. It's because the area, the laws, the way they've grown up is different completely. And it stacks the deck in their favor. So that's where you can realize equality by changing the things that affect our youth and put them on the wrong path. Better education, school choice. Huge with the last administration, huge with Republicans. Democrats voted down every time. They don't want school choice. Why? What about what Ron DeSantis just signed into law with Tony Dungy by his side? As he has a huge program to push fathers in homes, to push having children together as a parental unit and raising kids together. Now, when you say fathers in homes, we're not talking about parents who got divorced under regular terms, where the father's still in the life. He's there every other weekend, Tuesdays, Thursdays, whatever, however you want to do it. That's all well and good. That child most likely is going to be okay because the father is in his life. I'm talking about children in the areas where our system has rewarded being unmarried and having children alone. It's rewarded having more and more children, rewarding by the social welfare program. The bill Ron DeSantis signed really promotes fathers in homes, and what it does is it gives mentors to the children who don't have fathers, male mentors, because the statistic, and it has nothing, of course the left complains, insults us. It insults what? You're always talking about root causes. Well, here's the root of root causes for failure, overall failure in life and being in the criminal justice system or dying. The statistics show Obama in 2014 brought this up and put a fight against it. Didn't go very far, but he recognized it at least. You are 100 times more likely to end up in a gang if you don't have your father in your home or in your life. You are 200 times more likely to die before the age of 35. 65 times more likely to drop out of high school. 300 times more likely to not go to college. And I can go on. And the biggest one is you are much, much more likely to end up a victim or the assailant of a crime and end up in the criminal justice system. It's that simple. Why? Well, there's many reasons why, but there's some common sense reasons, like when your father's not around, when you don't have a male figure, and this goes more so for males, boys, not girls as much. Girls turn out a little better, statistically speaking, but a boy is looking for a father figure. They find it in gangs. They find it in older men, older guys, older kids, whatever, that are cool on the street, and what the Democrats seem to do is flood these streets with criminals. If you're I don't care if you're a straight A student, say you're a junior in high school, straight A student, you're a football player, you got high hopes, right? You're going to go to college. You're going to be the first in your family to go to college. You're going to be a football player, and if not, yes, guess what? You have a degree to fall back on. Those are your future plans, right? But your mom is raising you alone. She's struggling, working 2 jobs. Your brothers and sisters are barely able to eat. They're struggling too. And for a year straight, this guy at the corner who, you talk with while you're waiting for the bus or on your way to school, tells you can make $1,500 a week just by running a few packages, just by being a lookout, by doing this. It's going to be tempting. I don't care who you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care how good of a person you are. It's tempting because it could change life for you, right? You're not thinking about the future at that point. You're thinking, what can I do to make my life better now and my family's life better? You're trying to step up and be the man of the house. It happens. It happens all the time. And then boom, next thing you know, you're in the criminal justice system. You're dropping out of school. You're unable to find a job because you're committing crime after crime. And the cycle repeats. So, root causes. That's what the left always talks about, right? We talk about party of science and root causes. Okay, well, we're going to hit you up with some statistical science here and root causes. These are the root causes. Criminals on the streets, we need to get them off. Bottom line, it's the same few hundreds of people in Rochester committing these crimes. In Chicago, they found out it's the same 1,600 people in a city full of millions that commit these violent crimes over and over again. So get them off the streets. Well, Bale, what about, who cares? They shouldn't have had an illegal handgun. They shouldn't be committing crime after crime. The police need to be able to do their job. The judges need to be able to hold them. Prosecutors need to want them held. Bottom line. Laws. Here in great old Rochester, we had a mayor, Malik Evans, who talked big to get nominated. Thought he was going to do some big things to stop this crime. Like I said, we had 80 murders here. Was 29 in 2019. 57 year later, broke it with 80 last year. So as you can see, it's skyrocketing. So what does he do? Today, without even notifying the Locust Club president, which is the police union, just releases that they've passed new laws that cops during protests can no longer put tape over their badges. They can no longer, use pepper balls without approval. They can't use tear gas. They can't use all these different methods. Better yet, they can't arrest a protester unless they're physically interfering with the police. So that means they can light cars on fire. They can loot stores. That's not a protest. That's a riot. Protesting is 100% okay. That is your right. It's your God-given right. It's your right through the Constitution. It's your right. You can protest peacefully. Protesting doesn't mean, first of all, protesting with an agenda, a clear agenda on a true, proven narrative like Martin Luther King used to, was done during the day because the goal was to get into that building behind him and have talks with officials, with leaders. That was the goal, to make changes. Protesting isn't showing up at 10 o'clock at night and tearing through neighborhoods, screaming on a bullhorn and lighting cars on fire. And the cops just have to stand there. Now police, when they hear this, oh my God, they're making more laws against us, making our lives harder again. Now they're going to do their job less. And I don't blame them, because I don't want to be on the front page of the paper either for doing my job. So again, it's a slide backwards here. You got to stop making determinations when, a police officer ends up having to draw their weapon and kill somebody. They killed a black person. No, first of all, they killed more white people every year than black people, and that's a scientific fact. That's evidence. There's evidence for that. There's data. But we don't hear about that because it doesn't fit the left's narrative, the progressive narrative. So instead of saying, well, the police, they killed another black man. No, they didn't. They killed a criminal. Let's do criminals and law-abiding citizens. Because asking the entire black community to get upset because a police officer killed a criminal who was resisting arrest and then fighting for an officer's weapon is also racist and insulting. Again, it's insinuating that all black people are criminals. No, the absolute majority of people who are black and brown are not going to ever have, an occurrence like that, because they're not going to get in trouble, or they're not going to be wanted on a warrant. They're not going to be driving a stolen vehicle. They're not going to have an illegal weapon. They're not going to resist arrest because there's no reason for them to be arrested. And they're sure as heck not going to try to get an officer's weapon. So stop thinking, every white person is not supposed to be up in arms and every time a cop kills a white person, and they do that more than they do with black and brown. So again, it's a narrative that hurts communities more than helps communities. And again, that's a root cause. So let's say we have boy A, boy B, both born same day, same year, same hospital even. Boy A is born into a family with both parents involved. They live in an affluent, wealthy community and outside the city, in the suburbs. Big yard to play in, great neighbors, kids their own age all over the place. No criminals on their streets. No criminals, influencing them. They have a great school system. They're educated, get a great education. They play sports. They have extracurricular activities. It's a safe area to go around. They end up going off to college. They end up doing the right thing, making the right choices, and they have a great life, right? Boy B, born into a single mother home, ends up, getting in trouble at school, ends up talking, to all these criminals on the streets in their area because they're in such a horrible area that it's unavoidable because they're just flooded on the streets in those right now. They are influenced. They end up joining a gang at an early age. They drop out of school. Continue to make bad choices like that. Don't get involved in sports. Don't get involved in extracurricular activities. Don't care about their education. Their friends are on the wrong path. And guess what? Ultimately, they end up unsuccessful. They end up dead at an early age from getting shot in gang rivalry, warfare, or whatever. They end up in prison multiple times. Now, here's the best part about America. Even with the Democrats stacking the deck against Child B, he can avoid all that. He can take it upon himself. Maybe that mom steps up and says, no, you know what? I know my son doesn't have a father in his life, but we're gonna make things happen. Maybe his uncle gets involved and he's a stand-up person. Gets him on the right track, tells him he's not a victim. He's got opportunity. He's just got to stay straight and narrow. Don't talk to these criminals. They shouldn't even be on the streets. Goes to school, does what he has to do, gets involved in football. He's a great player, gets an athletic or academic scholarship to a college, goes to college, gets the financial aid, because anybody can go to college in this country. You can get financial aid if your income's low enough. So don't give me the free college thing. He beats the odds, turns successful. How about boy A? Maybe he gets into college, drinks too much, starts doing opiate pills, makes bad decision after bad decision, and he ends up failing in life. An addict, never recovers, and dies of an OD at 30. See, that's the thing about America. Even though the deck gets stacked against you or for you, ultimately, your choices and decisions, those are the variables that will ultimately depend on where you end. And if we can increase the access to opportunity for people in those areas, it's going to be easier to make the right choice. You'll see more diversity in the end without just throwing unqualified people into the mix. To get more a diverse profession or whatever, you don't just eliminate people because they're white. What you do is you get more people of other colors, if that's what you want, qualified for that job, so that the best person for the job isn't necessarily someone that's a white male, because there's a war on that. So, but to intentionally just pick someone because ultimately their race or their sexual preference is considered minority, even though there was a more qualified person, isn't what Martin Luther King wanted. It isn't equal opportunity. It isn't equality. That's called equity. Equity is a social guaranteed income program because, well, this and that. It's no. Fix the bottom. Fix the schools like the Republicans have tried. Get the criminals off the street like the Republicans have tried. Fix the businesses and the jobs and the job growth and the overall entrepreneur opportunities in those areas. Opportunity zones like the last administration had. Do that stuff. Make those areas worth surviving in, worth living in, worth working in. Make it so that people have access to opportunity. I'll never forget watching a program where there was a group of black and brown individuals, men and women, and they were talking about whether or not they liked and supported Donald Trump. And surprisingly enough, there was 10 of them. 6 out of 10 did. And when asked, all 6 happened to say the same thing. There's many reasons why, but all 6 said the same thing as one of the reasons. And that was he provided more opportunity to succeed for them. Whereas they felt they were stuck with the previous administration before the last one. So 2 administrations ago, the Obama administration. And that got me thinking. So that's when I started researching it and looking into it. And it was a system that was designed in the 70s by Democrats, by the far left, to keep people down in those areas, to not let them, to try to, although you do see people succeed from there all the time, the system is designed to crush you. Oh, you're on welfare? You want to get that good job? We're cutting you off right now. Now you can't afford to pay your bills because they're going to hold one paycheck back. You're not going to get paid for a little while. Oh, okay, I won't take that job. You want to move out to the suburbs? Oh, it's going to be harder to get Section 8. This and that. No. The last administration, remember when they said, oh, Donald Trump's taking welfare from people? No, he wasn't. Donald Trump was creating jobs, real careers, real jobs, and allowing people to find these jobs that were on welfare, that wanted to find these jobs. And that's what they were doing. He wasn't taking welfare. He was using it as a program to get you to the ladder so you can climb that ladder. Because the way the government's built now in the welfare state by the Democrats, it provides zero ladder, no ladder. You can't climb anywhere. The only thing you're climbing is into your swimming pool if you get lucky. Or maybe a flight of stairs up to your apartment building. Donald Trump was huge on having a ladder to climb. And the only way to do that is for you to make the correct choices, you to have the work ethic, the drive, the motivation, the determination, the perseverance to go through a bumpy road and then come out on top. Only people want to bash capitalism on the far left. They want socialism, which is a big equity-driven program. Everyone ends up the same, two-class system. Poor, lower middle class, and ultra wealthy. And you are not going from here to there, I promise, unless you're there already. With capitalism, put it this way, no place in the world can someone go from the lowest class in our capitalist society to the highest class faster than in America, in our capitalist society. And that's a fact, because that ladder can be climbed by anybody who decides they want to take it. Now, right now, in this day and age, and probably forever, is it going to be harder for some people than others to get to where they want to be? Absolutely. It is going to be harder. Everyone's got a battle you don't know that they're fighting. Some people have multiple battles. Everyone's going to run into speed bumps. Everyone's going to have issues. But if you can overcome it, you can be whatever you want in this country. Now, that doesn't mean like myself at 5'9" can be an NBA player. I can't. I have the right to try, but I'm not going to make it because I'm not the best person for the job in that situation. But in a capitalist society, in a republic like ours, you have the right to try to be whatever you want. And what determines, if you get to that point, what determines how much you make in life, what determines your professional success, your personal success, your economic success, financial success, is on you. It's the variables that I was talking about. Perseverance, work ethic, all that good stuff. Education, things like that. And by pushing a society and a system based on welfare and equity, you can throw all those out the window. That's why socialism doesn't work. Because most people want opportunity, not a stagnant life where you can never get any higher than where you're at. Maybe a couple more bucks here and there, that's it. But all in all, there's one, class at the bottom where everyone's going to be, no matter how hard you work. So again, and that's going to make anybody want to work hard? Nah, I don't think so. Strip the motivation from everybody. But in a system where somebody can be born into the absolute worst situation statistically possible for success and still manage to work their way up to own a business and be making $500,000 a year, and then come back to where they were born in, the city they were born in, the area they were born in, and talk to youth, talk to the people and say, look I was just like you. Look at me. Not only did color have nothing to do with me getting to this point, and not only did my color not hold me down, it wasn't even part of the equation. Yes, my situation being born here and having little access to good education and criminals all around, and I had to make great choice after great choice, and I had to stay on the right path my whole life, and it was hard, but I even overcame that, and it's great. People do that all the time, come back and talk, and it's a true story. It's a true story. Just like I said, someone in a rich area decided they were going to use drugs and make bad choices or drop out of school and join a band or something. I don't know. But either way, again, taking the individual variables and internal qualities away from the equation means a system that's broken and will never work and will fail. And ultimately a system that is controlled by the government. Big government is what the left wants. Now, that's why the left does what they do. That's why they're trying to convince people they're victims. Nobody's a victim. Your situation might suck right now, but it can change, and you can change it. But if someone thinks they're a victim, they're not going to change it. They're going to rely on you to help them, you as the government. They're going to rely on the government to help them. They're going to turn to crime. They're going to do things that victims do, that people who are quote unquote oppressed do. This is why you're seeing such a big move by the black and brown people in our country over to the Republican Party. Last year, we took 17 seats in Congress, in the House. In the House of Representatives, we lost none. In 2020, we lost no seats. None. Zero. No incumbent lost. But we won 17 toss-up battles, and some that weren't toss-up battles, against and took 17 seats from the left. And out of those 17 seats, 16 of them were either minority or women. One was a veteran. What does that tell you? Our party of old, stiff white men. No, maybe it was down the road, way back. But it's not anymore, not even close. Because in this day and age, with access to information, you'll find out the truth eventually. And you see people like Jack Brewer, who was an ex-NFL player, now he's in the Republican Party. He's a black man who was a Democrat, thought he had to be lifelong. He saw holes in the stories, holes in the agenda, holes in their narratives. When you see, if your wife lies to you, you think, what else did she lie to me about? And you start to wonder and you look back, oh man, she lied about a bunch of stuff. It's a relationship that people are having with the Democratic Party right now. Find out that was a lie. Why did they lie about that narrative? Donald Trump wasn't racist. He did more for the black community than any president in modern history. He had the poverty rate going down for the first time in 40 or 50 years for the black community. He had every demographic, including the black and brown communities, unemployment rate at the lowest in history, because he wrote policy for Americans, not for specific demographics. That's called identity politics, and that will ruin a system. When you write policy for one demographic, you harm the rest of them. And then you have to go write another policy for this one now, Instead, you write policy that is beneficial for everyone in a class. Because yes, there is a differential between class. Absolutely. But that can be overcome. Poverty, bad education, criminals on the streets. Those are problems that can be solved. So the left doesn't tell you about those. They tell you the problem is that we have systemic racists. We're just a racist country. Now that problem, good luck solving that if that was real. But it's not real. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Are there racist people in this world? Sure. There's ignorant people all over. A black child might have to hear someone call him the N-word or this and that, and then insulted by these white kids. Okay, those are ignorant people who are probably making fun of kids that are overweight, kids with disabilities. They're making fun of someone who who is ugly, quote unquote ugly or whatever. That's what they do. They're ignorant. My one friend who happens to be black said to me, he goes, yeah, there's always going to be ignorant people. There's always going to be racist people, of every color, first of all. And he said, but in no way, shape, or form has my life ever changed its course, or has my success ever been broken down due to somebody calling me an N-word. Said, yeah, it sucks. It might hurt, especially when you're little, but it's not going to change the direction of your life. If you let it alter your path to success, then that's on you, and it would have been altered eventually anyways, because you would have definitely hit a speed bump worse than that. Is it right? No, absolutely. Like I said, ignorance is ignorance. But there's ignorance on in every class, in every race, in every gender, blah, blah, blah. So the bottom line is, what we have is a problem that can be fixed. And the problem is helping people who live in poverty-riddled areas have more access to success. And if we do that, the problem goes away, and it's not that hard. It can be done. It was already getting done the last 4 years, and it's already been pushed to the side, and the problem's gone back to how it was in a year and a half. And I'm not kidding you. There's one demographic right now that the unemployment rate's going up in, just one, and that's black men right now. And that reason? Because the Democrats don't care about communities that are predominantly black right now in this nation. They don't. They don't care. They'll tell you they care, but they don't care. The proof's in the pudding. The proof is in the numbers. Numbers don't lie. Statistics don't lie. Research yourself. Stop believing a narrative that is manufactured by a bunch of stiff, old white people. The same thing they want to use. Stiff, old white people. Look at the leaders of the Democratic Party. Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden. Those are the stiffest old white people I've ever seen. But anyways, I don't even like to say that because guess what? Race shouldn't matter. Your sexual preference shouldn't matter. If you're trans, it shouldn't matter. Which party's making that matter? Which party makes it such an issue that your skin color has more pigment in it than another person's? Which party? Which party divides people based on skin color and tells one group they're victims and one group they're oppressors? Not the Republican Party. Are there racists in the Republican Party? I'm sure there are. There's racists in every party. But the overall agenda of the Republican Party is for every person in our great country, born here or if you become a citizen here, to have the American dream, access to the American dream. And then, because of small government, because the government's there to protect your rights and to protect you from foreign and domestic, terror and issues and problems like that. They're not here to control you. So the government's protecting your rights. And by doing that, they're there to allow you to dictate your future, dictate your American dream. What's your American dream? I mean, is it to graduate college, get a family and a good job and, live in a moderate-sized house and do that, and that's your dream? That's great. Then do it. But my guess is your dream isn't to end up in a prison at the age of 22 until you're 60 years old and then come out and say how you should have done this and should have done that differently. I mean, I don't think anybody's dreams that. It's just a result of bad choices and a result of a negative influences in a system that you were brought up or in an area that you were brought up in. So again, school choice, getting criminals off the streets, better like Ron DeSantis with the fatherhood programs, doing more for communities as far as investing money into entrepreneurs, businesses, better jobs, moving outside businesses into urban areas because they've been leaving urban areas for so long. I mean, urban areas used to be the area where business was done. The suburbs are where people lived. But now, no. Companies are moving out into the suburbs because of just a lot of reasons, but a lot of it has to do with the disaster some of these urban areas have turned into, like here in Rochester. So as November comes along and the Democrats want your vote again, they're going to promise the world. And they're going to call the Republicans a racist. Because they're racist because they said that you can do what they can do. That you as a black person can do what they can do as a white person. Well, we can do what they can do. No, you can't. You're a victim. You're a victim. You can't do that. They're racist for telling you can. It's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard. It's ridiculous. Well, you're gonna get murdered by a cop. No, you're not. You're not gonna get murdered by a cop. Last year in Rochester, we had 3 people that were shot and killed by police. 2 of them were black and 1 was Hispanic. And guess what? All 3 of them shot at police first. All 3 of them. We had 80 murders, and a lot of those murders were unintended targets, kids, teenagers, innocent people doing nothing wrong, just being in the wrong place, wrong time. So, is it a bigger... I mean, the left will lead you to believe that you're more in danger as a young black teenager to be shot by police than you are being shot in the inner city by gang members and illegal gun violence. It's just completely the opposite. I mean, it's not even close. You are 4,000 times more likely to be killed by someone that looks just like you with an illegal gun than you are by a police officer. So remember that when that narrative comes up. When they want you to vote because we'll crack down on police, all that does is lead to 80 murders in Rochester when you crack down on police. All that does is lead to more people dead. More black and brown people dead. Since the March of 2020, murders amongst black and brown people have gone up astronomically throughout this entire country. It's not a coincidence. Not a coincidence one bit. Remember that. So it's just a completely false narrative that's been used by the left to scare you into voting for them. And like Charles Barkley said, poor black people have been voting Democrat for 50 years and they're still poor. And what he means by that is the situations haven't changed one bit when Democrats are in office. It's, here, shut up, take a few more dollars in welfare. Oh, fathers and homes, that's not a big deal. It's white culture. That's what they'll say. It's white culture. They're racist for saying you should have a father in the home. No, nothing racial about it. If there's a white person in the city that's growing up without a father, he's at just as big as risk. It's called statistics. It's called reality. It's called stacking the deck in your favor. There is a system to success. There is a pathway to success. There is a roadmap to success. And while everyone's going to be a little bit different, that roadmap's been built for a long time. And it doesn't matter what color you are. That's not even in the roadmap. Roadmap has no recollection of color. It has nothing to do with your race or you being trans or you being gay. It doesn't matter. That roadmap, all it is on there is good choices. And if you make a bad choice, don't snowball it with 4 more bad choices. Handle yourself. Get things right, make good choices. You got to work hard. I mean, that's the key to success anywhere. Hard work, determination, like again, perseverance, doing the right thing, getting educated on what you want to do and going after it, taking risks. And by that, I don't mean driving 180 on a freeway. I mean taking risks with your future. Growth. You need to grow as a person. And you can't be a victim. You can't be hung up on this narrative that I'm a victim and I can't do what this person can do because of this. It's all garbage. It's all bullshit. As soon as you realize that, like I said earlier, the reason people of every gender, of every color, of every sexual orientation and every sexual preference are coming over to the right is because that's the party that allows you to be anything you want, and regardless of color. They don't care about color. They just truly don't. I mean, it's Vernon Jones was a Democrat, Georgia State legislature. In 2016, I believe he started his term. By 2018, he was really supporting Donald Trump's narrative of and movement of America First. He was a big supporter of it. So MSNBC, one of the hosts there, he was a black man, I can't remember his name, had Vernon Jones on. Now Vernon Jones, big black guy, he's sitting there, he's like, he asked Vernon Jones, are you being paid to support Donald Trump? And Vernon Jones lost it on the guy. It was hilarious. And he said, am I being paid? You're the one being paid to push a false narrative. You're the one. Oh, he went off on the guy. And soon after that, he resigned from the legislature because he did not see eye to eye with Democrats. Soon after that, he put an R next to his name. Soon after that, he was working with Donald Trump. And now he's running for office in Georgia as a Republican. Jack Brewer as a Republican. Fox's Leo Terrell used to be the most miserable person, a hardcore Democrat up until 4 years ago. I mean, he hated Donald Trump. He was always ripping his microphone out of his ear and throwing it down, or whatever, out of his ear, throwing it down. Left every argument, pissed off. Now he's the happiest guy you'll know, and he's the most conservative person you'll see too. And he says it's all bullshit. It's all nonsense. They want you miserable. They want you fighting. They want you hating each other. They want you thinking you can't do something, or that you're sorry because you're an oppressor, that you should be apologizing and you should be getting some free stuff here. No, they want all that. That's all garbage. once you see through that, and they are seeing through it, everyone's seeing through it, the public is seeing through it. And with that, there's, for the first time in history, there's more registered Republicans than Democrats. If Republicans are so racist, why are so many black and brown Americans, why are so many women, why are so many gay Americans and trans Americans moving over to the Republican Party? Why? That's a racist party. I think I'll go over there. Come on, give me a break. It's because it's so untrue. It's just, there's nothing true about it. And in this day and age, with social media, with cameras all over the place, with access to information the way it is, the truth is gonna get out. And you're gonna find the truth, and then you're gonna be pissed off for a little bit. But then you're gonna realize that all that stuff you thought you couldn't do, you can do. And your kids can do. And your grandkids can do. And that's a good thing. But gotta get going. Time's up. I got things to do today. But check out my podcast, Right on Red, which will be aired by Sunday night. I'll have a new episode out on any of your favorite platforms or right here on YouTube. And again, this is my second week of this supplemental video version of it as well. Even though on the podcast it'll be a completely different topic, maybe touch on this. But check my new one out next week for the video, and check out my podcast, I'm Right on Red, on any platform or on YouTube. I appreciate you tuning in, and see you next week.